It's been pretty crazy how much growth we've seen because we've really connected with people that needed Hispanic strategy and that realized that Latinos are not a monolith. We
Mhm.
look different. We come from 22 different countries. So it's really about finding that voice and representing my community properly and sort of giving it a hand as well.
Welcome to Hey Awesome Girl with Tivi Jones. Every week, we interview amazing boss babes in tech, medicine, law, entrepreneurship, entertainment, parenting, and more. About their lives, their goals, their why, in order to discover how every day they're working to add more pleasure, ease, and abundance in their orbit. Ooh, hold up. We gotta unpack that. This show is part business advice, part life coaching, part real talk with girlfriends. See how she be coaching me? If you're looking for a show that's real and relatable, but also inspiring at the same time, this is the one for you. I'm your host, Tivi Jones. I'm founder and CEO of the creative agency Hey Awesome Girl. I'm dog mom to Olivia, the cutest little doggo on the planet. And I'm someone who owns more than 500 books between hard copies and audiobooks. And I'm not even counting ebooks. I have over 500 books, over 300 hard copies in my little apartment right now. I've also grown businesses and audiences. I've managed million-dollar budgets, led large marketing teams, and generated seven-figure contracts for my clients. On the show, I talk to other boss babes as we figure out how to add more pleasure, ease, and abundance in our lives. In this episode, you'll meet Karla Montalvan, who is a columnist for People Español's Chica. She's also the strategy and editorial director at Tandem Studio, a creative agency she founded in 2019 after working for 10 years in nonprofit management, fundraising, donor relations, and international communications. Karla and I talk about all the things in this episode, and I know you will enjoy it. We are two very opinionated Capricorns, and so it's a lot of big cap energy in this episode, and so I hope you will enjoy it. Hi, Karla. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tivi. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited you're here.
I'm super excited to be here. I'm like waiting for this moment. All in the new year. I've just been counting down the days for this 2/2/22.
You are hilarious. Well, we work together quite regularly, but for folks who aren't familiar with you, tell them who you are, what you do.
All right. Well, short bio. My name is Karla Montalvan. I am a columnist for People Español's Chica vertical, and I run my own business called Tandem Studio alongside my business partner Mal de Moya, and we basically run a Hispanic-facing marketing strategy firm.
And do amazing work.
Yes, yes, we do.
And one of the things I love about you is you're so passionate about your work. You're so knowledgeable about your work. Like how did you come to create this studio that you run?
So for most of my professional life, I actually didn't work in marketing. I don't have a degree in marketing. I didn't know anything about branding or sales or any of that. I actually worked in the nonprofit sector. I would write grants. My mom growing up always told me that I could be a writer, but I had to make it lucrative. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'll do. I guess I just didn't have enough confidence in myself when I was younger to just be like, no, I'm gonna do something else. So I went into grant writing and I worked in the in the international nonprofit sector for 10 years. And then in 2019, I was burnt out at the age of 25 and I decided that I wanted to do something different. And I really wanted to go back into finding like that storytelling component that I loved so much that I didn't have with the grant writing. I mean, I was still telling stories and helping people, but not in the same way. So the first thing I did was I started taking up internships in marketing. I was really interested in digital marketing and how messaging was going across in social media. This was pre-pandemic, so everybody was flipping out and they were like, "What the hell are you doing? You just left your job that was so good with all these benefits and like your own cubicle to wait tables and do internships during the day." Um, but it thankfully worked out. And in 2020, I already had what was back then KM Consulting, and I had a consulting firm where I would help people create their own brands, but specifically focused on bilingual and Hispanic women that were trying to do the same thing. So in 2020, I moved to Dominican Republic and I met Omar, who's my partner. And both of us sort of fit the part that the other was missing. He had the design piece that I needed, and I had the editorial piece. So we came up with Tandem Studio, tandem meaning like, together. And our brand uses the M and the D to kind of show that partnership. And it's been around now for a year and a half, just as Tandem. And it's been pretty crazy how much growth we've seen because we've really connected with people that needed Hispanic strategy and that realized that Latinos are not a monolith. We
Mhm.
look different. We come from 22 different countries. We eat different foods. We don't all eat tacos. And really finding that the way that we talk is also different depending on the regions that we
Mhm.
come from. So it's really about finding that voice and representing my community properly and sort of giving it a hand as well. And there's so many professionals in the Hispanic sector and Latinos that are up and coming, and it's the fastest growing minority right now in the US. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's a crucial business. I know it's been crucial to the work that we've been doing. I love working with you and your team.
Thank you.
Because a lot of the work we do, as you know, is all around Black, Indigenous, people of color,
Yeah.
very heavily in North Carolina, focusing on the Black population and the Latinx population. And I'm an ally for the Latinx population, but I am not a member of the population. So working with folks who get it, who are sensitive, who are also allies to my community is super, super important for me. And one thing that I love about how we met is, I'm not sure if I should tell this story, but I'm going to go ahead and tell it. So we were looking at working with Karla for a different project, again, focusing on BIPOC communities. And I met her. She literally, this is that big cap energy. She literally took a call with me on her birthday, which is the day before my birthday. And it ended up didn't working out. It didn't work out for that particular project, but I had her in the back of my mind for like months. And I'm like, I gotta get this woman working with us. And thankfully you agreed to work and consult with us.
Yay.
Love it.
I also wanted to work. I was like, we need to find some place of conjunction here. And I'm glad that we did. I'm glad that we really did.
I am too. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, but I think it still relates to, well, I'm gonna make it relate to your entrepreneurial journey.
All right.
So one thing that I like about you is you are well traveled, you've been in different
Yeah.
countries. How has that shaped you as an online entrepreneur?
Whew. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I could ever come back to working in a traditional setting. I don't like to say never because you don't know where life will take you. But I definitely have loved the flexibility that comes from being able to work from anywhere in the world and also finding community in different places of the world. So, something that for me resonates no matter where I live is that people have fundamental things that they need and that they like. Everybody likes to feel like they belong. We all shy away from being rejected. We all want to be loved. We all want to be cared for in some way or another. And I think that for me is very enriching as an entrepreneur to be able to go to a new place, still give back to my community back home in the States, um, but at the same time, learn and grow from different people in different areas and live different realities. So as you know, I was living in DR last year. So for me, it was about coming back to feeling like an island girl again, because I moved out of Cuba, which is where I was born when I was very young, because of political issues. And I never got to live the island experience of being born in an island and enjoying it, like life in an island in the Caribbean.
Right. Yeah.
But even then, I went with these expectations, right? These like different, I thought it was going to be just like Cuba, in the sense of the people were going to be just like Cuba. And then while I was there, I learned that no, that was not, there are a lot of things that are similar. We're similar in food. We love to dance. We're very hospitable, but we're definitely very different culturally. We hold different values together. Um, and that for me was a huge learning experience, also as a business owner, in incorporating different people from different areas of the world. Right now in my team, I'm trying to think, we have 2 Venezuelans, 3 Dominicans, me who's Cuban, one person from Honduras, one person from El Salvador, and one person from Spain. So no, wait, we have 4 Dominicans. Now, yeah, 4 Dominicans. So really, we have such diversity in our
Right.
team
Yeah.
that I also find like my leadership style has to adapt to depending who I'm talking to, because this person comes from like a whole different set of beliefs and cultural backgrounds and realities that I may not have faced. So that for me has been really interesting. And as a leader in the Latino community and being a woman in the Latino community who's leading a business online
Right.
and doesn't look like what Latinos, quote unquote, look like, right? But perhaps doesn't sound all that American, but like people have trouble placing me in a box, and I don't want them to place me in a
Right.
box. I just want to continue sort of opening it up, that we don't have to fit in a
Right.
box, that we all
Mhm.
belong, and we can make it whatever we want. It's just a collaborative space, I think, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I love that. And I do want to dig into you being more of being a leader in the Latinx community. But one thing that you said that really stood out to me, I have a really good friend. She's Dominican. She identifies as Afro-Latina. Very, very like active in the Black community, a huge ally, obviously also a Black woman in all the ways that Afro-Latinas are Black women as well. But what's interesting is that typically with white people, she doesn't present as Black, and so what she finds herself in situations where people are more comfortable saying certain things to her because she doesn't look Black, and it sort of amplifies her allyship and activism a lot. Do you find yourself in similar situations, or do you know people who have been in situations like that before?
Yeah. I mean,
And how do you deal in those situations?
I've dealt with a lot of people, I mean, in that same, strand. Like a lot of people think I'm white, then not Latina, right? So I'm like Hispanic, non-white. And a lot of people when I was in college, for example, would talk talk about, I don't know, some Latinos in the classroom or something, think like next to me, thinking that I was not Latina, and then I would be like,
Right.
and also I find that people, because I'm a non-white, I mean non-white Hispanic, I always like confuse the term that they put in the little thing.
Right. I know what you mean.
People always confuse it when they come and they see my family. So my family, for example, my mom, both of my parents have Black hair and have skin that's a lot darker than mine. They're like what we call like más morenos.
Mhm.
And I came out, I'm like the only one in the niche of the family that has the recessive genes of the Gallegos. I look like my grandma. And a lot of the times people would come up to my mom, for example, and say, like, you adopted this child. There's no way that this child is yours. And I see that happening a lot in Latino communities, where people will come up and they will also talk about uh non-Hispanic blacks in a different way than they talk about Afro Latinos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they'll say, yeah, no, but Afro Latinos are different
Mhm.
than blacks. Like, we're not the same. And I'm like, you know, I don't know, because you can be active in both communities.
Right.
You don't have to just be, oh, I'm only a black woman or a black man, but
Mhm.
you could still be Afro Latina and identify as a black man and be Latin, just like you could be African American,
Right.
or you can be. And the Afro Latino community in the United States is huge because we have such a high
Mhm.
number of Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, people from Brazil. So yeah,
Yeah.
all of Latin America has Afro Latinos
Yeah.
um, everywhere. And
Yeah.
so you can't, every one of us has those traits, and our culture, like, is heavily influenced by African roots that we have.
Mhm.
Yes, we have whoever colonized us, whether Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, doesn't
Right.
matter. But the richness of the culture that it lives in Latin America, and I think in the United States too, comes from that African heritage. The food that we eat, the dances, the music that we all love, the drums,
Mhm.
all of that is all of our African influence. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's difficult as a leader to sort of listen to that commentary and not try to educate the other person where it's coming from, of
Yeah.
like, you're quite ignorant about what you're saying
Right.
because you're not paying attention to history.
Right.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
It definitely does. I think that the other thing with it too is, especially in America, because so many groups in America are oppressed, right? And so I feel like the the system in which we live likes to pit us against each other and do like the oppression Olympics. And we really, like, that's not a thing. Like, we don't have to compete over like who has it worse. Most people have it pretty bad if you're black, indigenous, or a person of color. Like, the system is not set up for you to succeed. So we're not gaining anything by competing with each other about the oppression we're experiencing. We all benefit when we work to be allies for each other. I think that's the whole point behind Black Lives Matter, because the point we're at in this country and the point we were at the height of George Floyd, it was very clear that it's like what they say, like, that house is on fire right now. Like, we need to put out that fire before we can like handle all the other like things going on. And yes, everybody has it bad, but at the end of the day, we have to be allies for each other and like support each other's causes and not like compete on who has it worse.
yeah, and to that end, when the Black Lives Matter movement was happening and George Floyd happened and everybody was manifesting, and then they came up with all lives matter. Well, yes, of course, all lives matter. But something that I consistently told my peers and people that came, well, you can't just say only Black Lives Matter. I'm like, no one is saying that. But we're
Right.
highlighting an issue that has been going on and no one has been looking at. So when something like this happens, you need to pay attention
Mm-hmm.
because you weren't paying attention before.
Right.
And so, how many times does it have to be peaceful? How many
Mm-hmm.
times does it have to be gentle?
Yeah.
If those things are not working,
Right.
then something has to be done and attention has to be paid. No one is saying that all cops are bad. No one is
Right.
generalizing. But how many times has the media generalized about people of color, about Black
Correct.
people, about Hispanics,
Correct.
about indigenous
Mm-hmm.
people? How many times, even with the coverage now of this American woman that died, uh, she was she died in the ground. I can't, her name is slipping my mind right now, but disappearances of white women in America, for
Mm-hmm.
example,
Mm-hmm.
they are looped in the news, looped in the
Yeah.
news. However, Black, Indigenous, and Hispanic women die at almost double that
Mm.
rate, and they don't get nearly half as much
Yeah.
coverage. And in the Grand Canyon area, which is where this woman disappeared, and was, later was revealed that she was killed by her boyfriend. So many Indigenous women are found dead, they go missing,
Yeah.
and it's never reported.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers are never highlighted and no one cares. So if we are not allies to each other, then who's gonna be our ally?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like this, then we go back into these weird debates like, yeah, well, but the Polish and the Italians, and yeah, okay, and the white people were here first. No, they weren't. The the Native Americans were here
Right.
first. And
The
then
folks that were
people came about.
slaughtered.
So wait a
Americans.
minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then I also go back and I say, okay, yeah, and also, yeah, all of the slaves were brought here against their will. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't just, oh well, whatever X commentaries that we hear all the time, that I roll my eyes and I can't. My mom sometimes, she's very like, tries to keep the peace, and she's like, please, we go to family events and she's like, please don't spark a debate with someone today over race, LGBTQ rights, abortion. Just keep it light. And sometimes I try, but I swear to you, over the last 2 years, I have not been able to succeed in keeping the light,
Yeah.
keeping it light. It's just, you're either on board or I'm sorry, but I don't respect you.
Yeah. No, and it's tough. And I do want to get to talking about your writing, but I know for me at Hey Awesome Girl, like my mission is my business. Like me being an ally for women of color is my business. Me being an ally for the LGBTQ community is my business. Me like supporting women's reproductive freedoms and reproductive justice is my business.
Yeah.
Like I would not be doing my job. And yeah, I can't go to every. I'm from Eastern North Carolina. We live in the country. I'm not going to every cookout, like talking about Roe v. Wade and all of that. Like I pick my battles. But if somebody says something, I'm probably not gonna hold my tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is another reason why I love working with you, because we just align on a lot of ways. Like we're both fighting the good fight and doing it for our communities and doing it in tandem with each other.
Yeah.
So
I love your play on words.
thank you.
Definitely.
Let's talk about people en español.
Oh man. Let's
So
talk about people.
tell me, how did you get there?
So a friend of mine actually referred me to People en Español. She heard that they had an opening for a column, and she was listening to the job description. Somebody she knows works at People, and she was she was like at their house on a visit or something, and they're like, yeah, we're looking for like a Hispanic woman that speaks English but is on board with like women's empowerment and all the things that we just talked about, right? Like, knows the community, is young and is passionate about tackling these topics. We need like a writer. So she's like, oh my God, I know the person. She's like, I got it. I got her. So she calls me and she says, do you have writing samples? Because, and she's been reading my writing when I was writing for like college newspaper. And I had a blog that was pretty active for a while. She was one of the followers of that blog. And she says, send your resume to this email and, see what happens, what's up. So I sent my email. This was about a year ago, actually. It was in February of last year. I was nursing a broken leg and hurdling the waves of business ownership. And I sent in my resume, never heard back from them. So I was like, well, I guess, my writing samples and my resume just like didn't make the cut or something. But a few months later, she calls me and she's like, hey, so whatever happened with People Español? Did they ever call you back? And I told her, I was like, no, I guess, they found somebody. And she's like, no, they haven't found anybody to fill the role. I'm gonna ask my friend like if they could find out what happened. So she did, and it turns out that my resume got lost in like a sea of other resumes and no one ever got to it. But she asked, so that sparked the interest of my editor. She was like, oh, I'm gonna see what happened. And immediately the next day she called me and she said, hi, I have been reading your work and I'm interested in you interviewing for the position. Do you have some time to talk? And the first two times we talked, her phone ran out of battery or my phone ran out of battery. One of us had an issue. So we went back and forth for a few weeks. And finally, she says, I like your work. I think that we should move forward with doing a test and let's go ahead. So I did a test and I was so nervous. It was so nerve-wracking for me because I hadn't been writing for a publication in years. The last time I had written for a publication, I was in college. So I was like, oh my God, sweating. I called a friend of mine, Melissa Dan, who works for NBC in San Diego. And I was like, I don't think I could do this. And she's like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Yes, you got this. So I got hired in July. And when I came on board, my editor really wanted somebody not just to speak to Latinas, but to bring a new voice, and to bring a new outlook, and somebody who understood what Latin American women need, but not just Latin American women, but BIPOC women need, because like I said, Latinos are not monoliths. So within the Latino community, there's Afro Latinas. We have LGBTQ Latinas. We have transgender Latinas. We have Native American Latinas. We have white Latinas. We have all of these different Latinas. And so it's encompassing what I was pretty much writing the column based on what I would consider I would need and what I would, think my generation needed. So I also dove into asking my Latina friends questions like, what would you want to read? And one of the things, for example, that now we're doing a lot is these Entre Chica talks where we go live with, celebrities, but also we go live with business owners. We go live with doctors. We're doing a live with a sexologist. We're talking about topics that are taboo in our community, and we're sort of breaking this barrier. Yeah, no, let's talk about vibrators. Let's talk about orgasms. And let's talk about suicide in in the Latino community, in the African American community. I mean, with Miss USA committing suicide this week, I was so touched by that story, and writing that story for me was not just about, oh, she committed suicide and it's horrible. This is an issue for women of color.
Yeah.
It affects us disproportionately because we have 10 times more pressure to succeed than white women do. And that's not hearsay. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. It's a fact. So, she's not being criticized over, I don't know, something dumb she said. No, she's being criticized because her hair is too curly. And her, her body is too muscular, and she's aging. And when you read about all these criticisms that she was receiving, you see that these are issues that we deal with. Or talking to a lot of Latina celebrities, I asked them, the pressures that you feel to have a successful career and to be depicted as who you are, right? Because who's writing the roles for women of color on television, on radio, in the music industry? Are we really being represented as who we are, or as how somebody thinks we are? So
yeah, those are really great points. And the death of Chesley, Chris, really like really got me in my community. I'm from North Carolina. I know you've lived in North Carolina. So tragic. We'll definitely add some resources in the description for this video for folks who might be struggling. It's hard to exist in this world, period. Doing life is tough. Doing life as someone from a historically marginalized group adds complexity, adds toughness to it. And so there's just so much to consider with that. In your interviews with People in Español, have you gotten any good tips from either celebrities or business owners on how they're dealing with tough times? It's like we're still, year 55 of the pandemic. Like, what are some good self-care tips that we can learn from some of your interviews?
I actually just wrote my first cover for People Chica, which is going to be coming out in March 2022. And I won't tell you all who it is because it hasn't come out yet. But maybe by the time this podcast comes out, you can go find out who it is. But this woman gave me a lot of tips, and actually this is something that I've seen across the board with celebrities that we ask these questions to. And I think the top of mind has always been taking care of your mental health. We get so caught up and actually this is not something that somebody I interviewed said. It's somebody that I was having a conversation with the other day said. He told me it's hard to create opportunities for yourself, and then once you have them, figure out how to delegate those opportunities with your mental health. So when I ask these chicas a lot of questions, they always tell me it's about finding that sweet spot where you're not going insane and asking for help. So success sometimes is a very difficult mask to keep up. You know, it's hard to keep up this appearance because it seems like for the spectator, your success is never enough. Oh, you made it to this level? Well, how long is it going to take you to get to the next level and the next level and the next level? And yes, creating opportunities for ourselves. And you know this as a businesswoman, that creating that inertia is difficult. And then once things get rolling, you're like, yes, they're finally rolling. It's like a bag of popcorn, you know, like one pops and the other one pops and then suddenly the whole bag pops. So when the whole bag is popping, there's times when you're like, I really need to chill. So we've gotten tips of journaling, creating a morning routine that works for you or a nighttime routine that works for you, finding time for quiet, just space for quiet. Turn off your phone, turn off the computer. Again, asking for help is so important. I have a business partner. We both have very different personalities, and sometimes I have to go up to him and say, I need help right now. I can't. I need you to take over this right now because I can't. Or even our families. Something that I'm doing that is new for me is telling my mom when I need her to be like chill. Sometimes I think from the heart that mothers of color, they're like, you gotta be strong, you gotta be like badass, and don't cry, no crying, no crying, you got this. Like when I was your age, I had 3 kids and 4 husbands and 3 dogs,
8
you
jobs.
know, and we did it. Yeah, I had a job in the morning and I did this at night, and cool. That's all very admirable. But sometimes I gotta tell my mom, Mommy, I just need you to like listen to me cry on the phone and then tell me it's gonna be okay.
Right. Baby, it's gonna be okay. Yes. Yes.
You know, the rest I gotta figure it out. I got the rest. I know I'm gonna find a way, but sometimes you just need somebody that you know, the person that brought you into this world, your tia, your abuela, your dog, your friend, to not fix the problem for you, but just tell you it's gonna be okay. This is life. You're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
You're gonna find a way.
That's really good advice. Like my next question was going to be advice to your younger self. like, what would you say to her? Like, if you looked at the Karla of, what'd you say,
25.
25 when
That was only
you
3 years ago.
like
Maybe
left
like,
the
no,
nonprofit
yeah,
world?
I left it at 25.
Okay.
She was already a badass, I gotta say. Like, I'm so proud of myself at 25.
Okay. Yes. What about 20 though?
Let's go
Like,
like 21. That's when I graduated college. I think that was 22 was a very transformative
okay.
year for me.
So what would you say to the 20-year-old?
What would I say? I would tell her to have more fun. I think I didn't have that much fun when I was younger because I was carrying the responsibility of being a first generation college graduate, of honoring my mother's sacrifice for my education and my well-being, and not just my mother's, like my whole family. When I went to school to North Carolina, that was a big shock for my family because I was always like closest to my family. I have two cousins that are boys, but they're more independent, and I was always sort of like the daughter that went everywhere with my mom, the niece that went, helped my aunt around. I'm like my grandparent. My whole house is full of pictures of my grandparents. Like people come over and they're like, "Are these your parents?" I'm like, "No, it's my abuelos." Um, so I didn't have that much fun because I thought I didn't have time. I thought I have to graduate, I have to get my degree, I have to start working, I have to start like contributing and giving back as soon as I can. And I didn't have the financial means. I come from, a low to um mid income family. And I knew from very early on that I didn't have the privilege of saying, you know what, I'm gonna fail a class,
Right.
or I don't want to do school right now. I knew that if I didn't take the opportunities that were served to me or given to me, thank God that these were available. But if I didn't take advantage of them, that I just wouldn't be able to go to school or get an education. So I just a lot, I wouldn't go to Franklin Street and dress up on Halloween because I had a French test the next day. So I would be studying, very
Yeah.
Capricorn, or I wouldn't go out with my friends or try new things or experiment because I was scared of failing. And then I realized that fear of failing and that fear of really, and I think that it came to me when I was
Yeah.
23 and I had already done all those things that people told me would make me happy, like buy furniture, have a credit line, have a car, and have a good job. And I realized that I was not fulfilled. Yeah, have fun, explore, fail, like just fuck up in life.
Yeah.
I have fucked up so royally in the last couple of years, and it has led me to a lot of despair, to a lot of depression. And I think that the depression, when I was 25 and I left my job, I got very depressed because I lost a lot of friends. I had to get to know myself again.
Yep.
But I also connected with a side of me that had nothing else to lose other than myself. And I was like, what do you really want? You already did it. You quit your job, you served your letter, you're waiting tables, and sometimes, I mean, I don't know if you've ever, Durham Catering is gone now, but I used to work for Durham
I
Catering.
remember Durham
And I became a captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Durham Catering. And I remember sometimes I would go to events I actually used to wear this shirt. To events, I was a captain of like the catering team, and sometimes I would go to events and I would see coworkers or I would see ex-bosses at these big events for UNC, and they would be like, "What are you doing waiting tables?" And I was like, "Give me a few years.
Yeah. Bet on yourself.
Just give me some time to like, yeah, just give me some time." But trust me, after I left those events, I was a mess. I was like, what have I done? I should have stayed at my job. I should have continued doing this. I lost one of my best friends who was like, you did this to yourself. Like, how could you give up these opportunities and just throw them out? no one knows your journey. You have to find your own place. But I tell my cousins that are my youngest cousins all the time, my friends, I'm like, okay, would you rather drink tiny shots of cyanide every day?
Mm.
Putting up with like, I guess this is okay. Yeah, I guess, yeah, my job is not, doesn't fulfill me, but like, doing this other thing is hard. But then at 35, you get cancer.
Mm.
So then what happened? Then someone fills up your job position and then you're done.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she was so amazing, great, so sorry to hear this is happening to you, bye. And your life is gone. So yeah, have fun. And I still tell myself that all the time, like, have fun.
Yeah. That's good advice.
And I work a lot more now than I used to back then. Trust
I was gonna say, yeah, it's scary, it's tough. I think one thing that we don't talk about enough in entrepreneurship, and I do want to have some episodes about this, is just the mental and emotional strain that it takes on you. It is very lonely being an entrepreneur. People say to me all the time, "Oh, you're killing it. Oh, da da da. You're doing such a good job." Like, you didn't see me struggling for 10 years. Like, I invested in myself. Like, it takes a mental and emotional toll. And that's why I'm glad that I can have conversations with women like you who are just so open and honest and who get it, because we have to convene these types of conversations with each other, because it can feel very lonely.
Yeah.
And it can be pretty depressing. So I actually want to end on a high note, though, because
I want to say something I appreciate about you, and we do this a lot, is that we check in on each other. Like, you good?
Right.
You need to talk, you need to vent.
Exactly. Yep. Your support network. Your what does it say? Your network is your net worth. It definitely matters. But what are you looking forward to this year? Like, what's a bright spot in your 2022 that you're looking forward to?
Vacationing. Vacationing. This is one of my goals this year. As a Capricorn, I have not taken a vacation since I was 25. And also I'm doing my master's in coaching this year. Just don't have weekends. So one of my big goals for 2022 is to level up my business, but by taking care of myself first. There's just something about taking care of you that has an interesting way of trickling down into every area of your life. And in 2021, I realized that I didn't take time to rest, to sit back, to turn off my phone, disconnect, delegate. And I was so focused on, we got to make it, we got to do these goals, we got to take this business to the next level, we got to write, we got to do this. Just meeting expectations, because again, it's hard to create opportunities, and then it's hard to know what to do with a bag of popcorn.
Right.
So this year, I'm looking forward to taking more care of myself and putting myself first. And I'm doing this this savior morning routine of silence, affirmation. No, it's silence,
affirmation,
annotation. So I'm writing in the morning. Yeah, affirmations, visualization. I'm exercising. I know the acronym in Spanish, but it's like a whole series of things that I'm doing in the morning before I start. Yeah, it's from the Miracle Morning. But I'm implementing it, and I actually have a little. Oh, it's not here. I have a journal that says Capricorn on it. Is it on the table? No. It says Capricorn on it, so I'm taking it to the park. I'm making it work. I'm like, all right, made a deal with the dogs. I'm like, okay, one day we go to the park, one day I go to the gym. So we we go to the park, and I bring my book, and I bring my little Capricorn notebook, and I write, and it's just about creating a life that inspires you, and it doesn't have to be like one way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm excited about.
I love it. Creating a life that inspires you. Karla, you are such a joy and a pleasure, and I've so enjoyed this conversation. Where can folks find you online?
They can find me at the Karla Montalvan on Instagram. They can find me on LinkedIn as Karla Montalvan as well. can also find me on peopleespañol.com/chica. And they can find me on my website, which is karlamontalvan.com. Even though I'm not there all that often, but you can still find me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me for Hey Awesome Girl with Tivi Jones. I've so enjoyed this conversation, and I look forward to our next one.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this episode with me and Karla. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom in it. I really want to highlight a couple of points. One, as a Capricorn, it's hard for me to ask for help. Ask for help, folks, whether it be in your work, in your personal life, with your mental health, with your emotional health. Please seek the resources that you need to support yourself as you're doing life on this planet, or as my girlfriend Kim likes to say, while you're attending Earth School. It's really important to ask for help, especially when you need it. I also want to highlight Karla's point about having more fun. Like, life can be very serious at times, but make sure you develop a practice for fun and for pleasure in your life, because that will, as Karla said, that will help you create a life that inspires you. And that is absolutely what I want for you. So please tell me in the comments, how are you creating a life that inspires you? How are you adding more fun to your life right now? Share in the comments. Also, you can tweet us, tag us in a Facebook comment, tag us on Instagram, all the social networks. We are Hey Awesome Girls. I am Tivi, founder and CEO of Hey Awesome Girl, the amazing creative studio where I get to work with so many talented beings who support our social mission to celebrate and empower women, especially women of color. Until next time, please remember to stay awesome. So it's me again, just jumping back on to share a special resource with you. So I know I talk a lot about our pleasure, ease, and abundance framework that we use at Hey Awesome Girl, but maybe you aren't quite sure what that means and how you can incorporate that into your life. Well, we have a free resource for you that can help with that. It's our Pleasure, Ease, and Abundance playbook. In this playbook, I outline the 9 elements of pleasure, ease, and abundance you need to consider to help you create a life that is fun, fabulous, and free. I walk you through journal prompts, I share resources, and give you some actionable steps you can take to get you further away from stress, exhaustion, and being broke. To download this free playbook, go to heyawesomegirl.com/framework, enter your email address, and we'll send it right over to you. That's heyawesomegirl.com/framework to download your free playbook today.